the marriage sensation. We're a marriage ministry located out of our church, New Life at Calvary, on East 79th and Euclid Avenue in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm Walter Glenn.
And I'm Katy Glenn.
And we're delighted to have you with us today. Today we're going to talk about the seasons that our marriages go through. Obviously, there's some seasons in the physical world. There's summer, winter, spring, and fall. And we go through seasons with our marriages. So we're going to try to sort of carve out and define some seasons that sort of crop up in our marriages and do our best to sort of relay what happened to us during those seasons. So let's go.
Okay, every marriage goes through a series of seasons. And by seasons, we mean a specific time period where different events happen. Certain issues come up, you'd have to make adjustments, and there are different needs for each season that we go through. And it's clearly the seasons are different from one another, and they're always associated with your marriage as you're just passing through your marriage. But most people can recognize that there are different seasons in their marriages.
I agree.
And for example, we've got the newly married, we got the teenage years, we got the like older married, the kids going to college, we've got also the empty nest when the kids are gone through college, we've gotten them through, and they've left the house, and when they get married, and it's just a whole new season at that. So there's so many seasons that we go through, and each season needs a special preparation so that you can go through it kind of smoothly.
And each season has its own challenges too.
Right, exactly.
Or benefits. I mean, we look at it like, I think we've been through most of them, pretty much, in the time we've been married. So why don't we just kind of go through the seasons individually and define them. And if you find yourself falling in any of these seasons, just know that there are times and remedies for that season, and we do get through these, and we move on into the next season.
Well, the first one is newly married.
Yeah.
That's when you're defining and agreeing on your new roles as husband and wife. You're just learning about each other, you know, who does what. You're developing a relationship with your in-laws. That's a good one. And you're learning how to get along on a daily basis. That's that newly married.
Now, we've got a daughter and son-in-law who have been married for about 1.5 years. That would be the phase that they're in right now. How do they get along with us as the in-laws? How do they define their own marriage, carve out their own niche, establish their own household? And it's been fun to watch them kind of go through that. They recently bought a house, and they lived with us for about the first 1.5 years in our basement, and now they're on their own, and they're carving out their own way of life, and it's been a joy to kind of watch them. What do you remember from our initial phase of marriage when we go back? I mean, almost 35 years now, and go back to when we were starting out. What struck you then about that stage for us?
I think for me it was just learning about you, learning like your little idiosyncrasies and
how wonderful I am.
You're like, yes, how wonderful you turned out to be.
Thank you.
And how, or what things you liked or what things you didn't like. So it was just kind of, you know, asking questions and just going through life to see where you were, what you liked, what you didn't like.
Was there anything that scared you during that phase that you were nervous about?
No, not really. Not really. I felt that you were very capable of taking care of us and managing the household, and you know, I would be there to help you through whatever we were going through. So I knew I just felt like we were going to be a solid team.
Okay, so on our list here, let's define that time period.
Well, it was just newly married. That's the season.
Yeah, but what goes with that? What's associated with that? I mean, small kids?
No, it's learning how to get along on a daily basis. Your roles as husband and wife. Learning how to communicate and resolve conflict. And just adjusting to differences, different values, different tastes, different needs. That was all part of
a good one.
The newly married.
That's a good one, because yeah, we did have to adjust each other's different values, different
Right.
styles, coming from two separate, totally different households
Right.
where things are done differently. Some of you guys are going to find yourself in that situation.
Yeah.
So what's the next
The
phase?
next one was married with preschoolers.
Oh boy.
We were there too. When you're married with preschoolers, you are making major decisions concerning careers and children, and maintaining time for one another, and not losing touch with each other. Because preschoolers, they require a lot of attention, a lot of work, and oftentimes you lose contact with your spouse because you're so concentrated on the children.
So if you find yourself in that phase, know that it's important to keep contact with each other. It's important to go on dates. It's important to carve out some personal time
Right.
For each other and for your marriage, and also you know, to be aware of the fact that it's easy to lose that time, to get wrapped up into
Right.
those kids, your children at that point, and you know, kind of lose out on your marriage and lose out on some things that are sort of put it on a back burner, I guess.
Another part of that is handling the growing money squeeze, because children are very expensive.
Yeah.
When you're buying all this baby furniture, preschooler beds, and all kinds of things that go into there. And preschoolers, you're taking them to preschool.
Child care, yeah.
You pay for child care. It keeps that. And then also, again, like we said, keeping the relationship fresh and coping with growing responsibilities, and probably not only within your family but at your job.
Yep.
So that's part. I mean, we're keeping jobs, so that's all a part of kind of preparing for that and working with.
Yeah, a lot of couples find
preschoolers.
themselves in that crunch right there. A lot of them, and it was a fun time though, guys.
It was. It seemed like it lasts forever because it seemed to be.
It moved slowly, didn't
forever.
it?
Yeah, it moved
At
slowly.
the time, it moved slowly. Now it seems like
right.
it moved fast.
And then it's like, wow, they're in middle school,
They're
or they're
gone.
in high school, or it's like it was amazing how quickly that went fast.
So true.
So the next one is school age family, when the kids are now in the upper grades, and you have to juggle the pace of your expanding responsibilities because the kids are getting into sports, they're getting into clubs. You have to maintain sanity in your relationship with your kids, and as they begin school, and they're adding new friends, and they're beginning new activities of their own, sports, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts.
Girls and boys in general.
God.
If you got girls, the boys start coming around. If you got girls,
music lessons.
boys, the girls.
And in addition to that, and it just kind of goes from preschool as your kids get older, handling the growing money squeeze with savings, college, retirement concerns. That's all a part of that when they're in that school age, because as they're growing older, you're growing older as well.
I remember that phase well. Our kids were going to a Christian school, and we were paying tuition, and we also had college on the horizon.
Right.
And the expense of college, yet they had this strong desire, they being our kids, to drive. Now that put a whole new set of gray hairs in our head,
Right.
Because our school was about 25 minutes away, virtually all freeway.
Yeah.
And so we ended up getting them a car, and they had to drive to school, and obviously our insurance went up. We had to buy an additional car, which was an additional expense, additional gas, everything. So
It did change for the better, because they were more independent. They could take care of themselves.
we didn't have to.
And they turned out to be good drivers, and so we didn't have to worry about that. I always laugh with my youngest daughter, Emily, how it'd be winter and the streets are covered with ice and snow, and I'd be, okay, bye Emily, go on to school. And it never dawned on me that my poor child was not only driving in bad weather, but she was going on the highway. And I just, I had so much confidence in her. She was such a good driver. She's really a good winter driver, that I didn't even think of. I was just like, okay, just be safe, And we laugh about that all the time. She's like, Mom, you just sent me out there in the cold and the snow and the ice. I said, yeah, but I just knew you were going to be okay. So
Well,
that
I,
was
on the
a
other
funny
hand, had a lot
adjustment.
of gray hairs about that one.
I know you did. And again, we're also trying to keep the romance together and dealing with teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big season of adjustment.
Absolutely.
The next one is a mature married life, launching and releasing family. And this is like a midlife crisis when you're dealing with aging and ill parents. Your increasing health concerns, if there are any, because again, the kids are getting older and so are you. Money pressures with children in college.
Yeah.
And we know we've been through that twice.
Yeah.
And releasing children successfully into the adult world.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of pressure there. You're trying to make sure that you tell them everything that they need to know, things they need to look out for, but you don't want to scare them to make them scary out there, but there are certain things that you do need to tell them. And so that's all part of this season of mature married life.
I think that was an interesting season for us because I think we were okay with releasing our children because we thought we had prepared them and equipped them. We knew that God had them.
Right.
We knew the Lord was working in their lives. But it was also a challenging season because they no longer relied on us for their day-to-day needs and situations. Right. They were down at college in Bowling Green.
Right.
And oftentimes we wouldn't see them for long stretches at a time, and so they had to make their own decisions. They had their own apartment down there, and
they did very well.
So they had to buy their own food, and they had a car down there, so they had their own transportation, and so it was an interesting season because they were finally launching. They were launching.
Right.
Out into some uncharted territory for them and for us as well.
Yeah, but it was a good time.
It was a good time. It was fun.
And the last one we have is marriage in transition, and that's the empty nest. So there are new roles for both of us because our kids are gone. Refocusing on our marriage relationship. And that's when, if you hadn't done a good job in those other seasons, now you can really put in effort, be real intentional about shoring up our marital relationship, working harder towards that, and developing a new lifestyle because now we didn't have to worry about the kids at all. They were out on their own, they had jobs, they were taking care of their business. And again, we have to talk about our resources, allocating resources for future needs. So we're talking about that retirement.
So you're in retirement season then, you're into some real decision making.
Right.
I think that too, that season is the season that we're currently in right now. It's been fun, but it's also been interesting. Would it surprise you to know that a lot of marriages fail in this season of time, the quote-unquote empty nest season, that a lot of marriages succumb to the weight of that season because now the relationship is solely back to where it started.
I was going to say, we're all back to the beginning with just the two of us.
Right, and it's probably 25 or 30 years
right.
fast forward and into the future,
right.
And you've changed, I've changed, and we've got to make some major adjustments to the fact that there's no more kids to sort of buffer the relationship or to be there. Now it's just the two of us again.
And that's why we make an effort to keep the relationship alive or keep it vibrant as you're going through these different stages. And that can be difficult because you're just so busy. You have so many things to think about during all of these seasons. And it's like, now you got one more thing to think about, but it's the most important because at this point here, we're back to the two of us.
And I think that can be such a rewarding season. It can be such a season of really rediscovering who this person is. If that's been sort of a mystery, but it's also a time when you can connect at a level that you probably weren't able to during the time you were working 8 and 9 hour jobs all day and raising our children. it's a chance for us to go out and just do some things and have some time that's solely dedicated to us and our marriage. It's exciting.
Right.
It's
another thing that we were talking about earlier was that in this season of empty nester, you're connecting with your children at a different level because
Sure.
they may have married, and now, like we said earlier, you become in-laws,
Grandparents.
and then you become grandparents, and so you have to define your roles, of those new titles that they've given us. You have to define those and begin working that out with your children, which is very interesting too, dealing with a son-in-law. Well, we'll have son-in-laws, so it's very interesting. It's just a whole new world with that.
Absolutely.
And I thought this was the last one, but the last one is marriage and retirement. And this is dealing with health setbacks. Usually when you get older, things don't work the way they used to. And finding new purpose for your life after working for so many years. Because, I worked 35 years. You're into 40 or more years of
44.
working. And adjusting to your retirement income. Because I believe it goes down, but,
Yeah.
You have to learn how to make those adjustments with living and just have it just lasting for,
Well, hopefully you've done some of your homework, and
Right.
as your income decreases during retirement,
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully your bills have decreased because now things are paid off, such as your house note, your cars, things like that were taking money initially out of the budget. They're now paid for,
Right.
and your savings is up, so that when you do purchase new items like that, you can do it either mostly cash or you can do it where it's manageable to your budget. So hopefully the groundwork was done through all these seasons. If you can catch what we're saying here, there has to be some work done to prepare for the next season.
Exactly. And in Ephesians 5:15, Paul exhorts us. He says, "Be careful how you walk, not as unwise men,
Amen.
but as wise." And so just what you just said, you need to prepare yourself for each season to the best of your ability so that you can go through these seasons just very straightforward and seamless. You'll just flow right through them.
You think about the traditional seasons with the weather. In the summer, you can wear less clothes. You can go out and go to the beach and throw the beach ball around. But in the Cleveland winter, you better have on some good clothing. You better have on some winter coats and be ready for that cold weather season. Marriages go through the cold part of the winter season, and we've got to be able to have the tools to weather that season and be equipped. I'll quote the Norwegians about this. The Norwegians said, "There's no bad weather. There's only bad clothing." And I thought that was pretty funny.
That was good.
They come from a very cold climate, and they said, "No, there's no bad weather. There's only bad clothing." And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help all of us, men and women, prepare for these upcoming seasons and have the right outfits, the right clothing, so that we can weather whatever comes our way.
Right.
So
That's good.
Yeah, what do you think about?
Yeah.
Any
So think about
thoughts?
what season you're currently in, and if you can identify the seasons that you've already gone through. And that's just something a good discussion topic between you and your spouse, just to see where you are, where you've been, and look how far you've come and how well you've done.
And if you're just starting out, know that these seasons go quickly.
Yes, they do.
They actually go quickly. We never thought that we would be in and out of those seasons as quickly as we have been.
Right.
And that the next season is a-coming. So
That's
stay married. So
Right.
until next time, whatever season you're in, we want your marriage to be sensational.